Good morning, thank you for that lovely introduction. I am actually stepping in last minute for Christian, as you'll probably see on the programme. Hopefully I can relay to you some information about the digital economy in the local area. So just a bit of background about the LEP first of all. So the Enterprise M3 LEP covers most of the Hampshire County and western area of Surrey. In March 2019, we actually agreed a boundary change, meaning that we saw the New Forest district become part of the Solent LEP, and we inherited the rest of Winchester and Tess Valley, I believe. So with the LEP, what are we? What do we do? Because lots of people don't always know. So the Enterprise M3 recently formalised its partnership structure, and we became a company limited by guarantee. The LEP has been delivering a programme of investment of government funds across the area with a value of over £270 million, all invested in projects to boost the local economy. So this slide shows a few of the key sectors across the region and examples of businesses and the key priorities of the LEP. All based around the LEP's strategic economic plan. So today, in common with the focus of this event, I'm going to focus more on the digital element and the AI and digital priority, and specifically look at gaming, which I think feeds in quite nicely with some of the other presentations that you've seen today, as gaming really is a major strength of our area. Okay, so gaming in our region, we're very lucky actually. Guildford is the Hollywood of the video games in the UK. So it's a key centre of the gaming industry, and it recently held, I don't know if anyone attended, but the Guildford Games Festival, which the Enterprise M3 LEP was a sponsor of and a big supporter. An interesting statistic as well, if you like, is that Britons aged between 11 and 64 spend an average of 9.5 hours a week playing online games, which is a huge amount, and I'm sure some of you will probably argue that your children spend that a day doing that. But it is a huge industry. So the UK games market was actually ranked the 6th biggest market in the world in 2016. And it has risen since then. A year later, it actually moved up to the 5th place in the world, as you'll see on a slide a bit later on. So it's huge. Within the area, this is not the Enterprise M3, excuse me, area. It's not a new phenomenon, actually. The games development has been happening around here for 30 years with more than 70 studios. Huge global creators, developers, publishers of games, etc. have been based here, and some of which you'll recognise on the slides. You might have heard your children or students talking about them, and they might be demanding them for Christmas and birthdays and things like that. So EA Games created FIFA, Star Wars, Sims. Epic was Fortnite. Now I don't know half of these, but some of you might. They also created After Party, Phoenix Point, and then Hello Games is a kind of boutique developer in the area. Started out as a team of 4 above a tile shop, and they are now famous for Joe Danga and No Man's Story. I don't know if there's any blank faces out there, but they're huge. So Joe Danga was released in 2010, and it sold 50,000 units on its first day, which actually enabled this 4-man startup company to break even, and now they are doing fantastically well. So that's a bit of info on the local companies. As I mentioned, UK industry game sector is still growing, and in 2017 grew to 5.1 billion and the 5th largest video game market for consumers in the world. So pretty huge. As you can see here, the next few slides demonstrate that the sector just continues to balloon, basically. It is, you know, I can't emphasize it enough. Software growth is all about online and digital, as well as mobile. As we all know from our own lives, we're constantly on our phones, we're downloading more, we're streaming live digital things more as well, live media. And older sort of formats, such as physical versions of games or books and toys, are declining. Although we wouldn't rule these out, that they'll disappear altogether, because if you think back to kind of vinyl in the music industry, there's been a huge resurgence of that recently, and it's vintage, it's fashionable now. So, you know, we wouldn't say that that is going to completely disappear, but perhaps become slightly more niche. And also the culture around gaming. So it's not just about the actual technology, but the whole wraparound activities that come with it. So again, we see the decline in more traditional aspects like books or toys, but movies and games-related events are growing. Soundtracks to games are huge, and things like virtual sporting and things like that are growing. So the game sector is now larger than the video and music combined. This is really due to the huge developments in digital technology over the last 10 years, and it couldn't really have happened without that. As we know, that the increase in the technology has just grown at such an exponential rate. And the forecast, it is set to continue on that kind of upwards path, and new areas like immersive tech, where people can actually become part of the game or actually actively within the digital environment. We saw the augmented reality stuff that Peter showed us earlier. That is just going to continue to become a much more commonplace in all of our lives, especially probably in education, as Peter said. And I mentioned the esports earlier. So video games and sports are now becoming more commonly played competitively online and watched by spectators online and eventually at real venues. So I heard an interesting fact that more people tuned in online to a virtual football tournament than they actually watched the World Cup. So it's a real thing. And in terms of jobs, and I know, and I'm going to repeat again what Peter said, a lot of the jobs in this sector aren't around yet. They haven't been invented. We don't know what they're going to be. But currently, you know, these are some examples. And it's not just your typical coders. The creative skills are such an important aspect of that as well. We need to be relaying that to the young people that we're working with. Okay, so the Enterprise M3 area continues to support the growth around such activities in the digital sector. So Rocket Desk is a co-working space in Guildford that the LEP supports, and promotional events. So the Guildford Games Festival, as I've mentioned, we contributed some sponsorship towards that. So we do value it as a sector in this area very highly, and it's just going to continue to get more and more important with 5G and everything. So the importance of the games sector has been recognised by the Department for International Trade in the Enterprise M3 area, and is promoted to international businesses to say to them, come here, come to this area, come to the Enterprise M3 area to do business, to set up and grow your business, because this is where it's happening. So we're very lucky to have that so close and on our doorstep. So these are some of the other digital projects that Enterprise M3 have been involved in. So the gaming sector is an important one for us, but the LEP wants to support digital as a whole. So we have contributed to the Cyber Security and Data Innovation Centre at the Royal Holloway Uni in London. and the Visual Microsoft Suite at Sparsholt College, and as well as contributing and supporting the 5G development at the University of Surrey. And of course, with the boost in this economy comes lots of jobs for today, tomorrow, the future. And as you know, yourselves as teachers and parents might worry about the amount of time your young people are spending playing games, there are some positive things and skills that they can learn from that. And they can actually relate that to their study in the world of work. And we're supporting that as the LEP through the Careers and Enterprise Company Enterprise Advisor Network. So there's some interesting information there about young people. It might give them different skills. So this is a real example of a young person who was looking at X-ray machines in an airport, and because they were so good at gaming, they actually spotted a gun or something like that other people just didn't have the eye for. So it is a valuable sector, and I hope that has given you a bit of a brief whistle-stop overview of the local economy and the opportunities in our area.